YouTube Capital G here. So we're asking the question that was asked earlier this week by a couple of YouTubers. I saw this first on Galactic God's channel, and then I believe that MCO40 kind of continued on with the conversation, brought up some very valid points, and that is essentially, do you believe that dragon rulers should be unbanned? Now, first, instantly, you know, me being the very liberal fool that I am, I was like, yes, bring them back, bring them back, bring them back. And I'm generally gonna say that about like 50% of the banned cards. I'm just like, yes, bring them back, bring them back. No questions asked, just bring the card back, bring back Stratos, bring back Tri-Virus, bring it all back. You know what I mean? Unless I know the card is just like ridiculously OP. Don't bring back Painful Choice, bring back Snatch Steal, that's a mistake. But the thing is, for starters, Dragon Rulers were, in my personal opinion, they were cards that were not banned because of themselves. They were banned because of other cards. So that's instantly something that the Dragon Rulers would have, like, you'd have in favor of the argument of bringing them back. Like, I personally believe that it was Dark Matter Dragon that got them banned, and then Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon, which was kind of like, Konami was looking at that like, all right, we've already got this one card that makes them OP. Now we're going to release another Xyz that makes them even more OP. Like, we can't have all of this in the game. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, because maybe you were just living under a rock at the time, the Dark Matter OTK deck was a real thing. I know that because there was a very, very tiny window that you could actually play this deck. It was only one weekend. I don't think that I've ever remembered anything like this, where we knew cards were going to be banned, and there was the window was so small between being able to play a deck and it being completely irrelevant. But anyways, during one weekend, this deck was actually legal, and I went to an event during that weekend. That was the last regional I went to, the one where I got like 17th with Sertaler Knights. This deck actually it took 2 spots in top 8. And the thing about this event was like 350 people, and this was an event where Necros and Burning Abyss were still completely in their prime. When I say completely in their prime, I'm talking like Necros had 3 Preparation of Rites and BA had, 3 Tour Guides, and this deck was still beating them because, the Dark Matter Dragon deck did not care about the late game at all. It didn't even care about the mid game. The deck wants to win in the first 2 or 3 turns. Like, it doesn't want to give you any more than that. Essentially, you make this, you get to drop all of your Dragon Rulers in the graveyard, and then you get to also kind of obliterate your opponent's deck at the same time. And it's already been historically shown that Heretics and Dragon Rulers work perfectly together, because Heretics can kind of get themselves in the graveyard at an accelerated pace, and you really didn't have any way of kind of benefiting that in the past until you threw Dragon Rules in the deck, and it's like, oh, all of the Heretics that are in the graveyard, we can just banish them to summon these big ass beaters, and now we can play Skill Drain potentially, we can Exceed. There's a whole bunch of different plays there. So this was one of the biggest reasons that this deck, or that these cards all got banned, because this card facilitated you being able to dump 3 of these in the graveyard at one time, and Konami was like, we can't have that. And then in addition, they were about to release this in Clash of Rebellion, which this card is very similar to this card. I kind of look at it as an Exceed. Like, why would you make an Exceed that powerful? The fact that this card can essentially nuke an entire board, and then it can attack 3 times, but it has 3,000 attack. Like, why are you making Exceeds that are that impractical, but then you ban other things that exploit them? It doesn't make a ton of sense. Now, if the Dragon Rulers were all brought back, like, to be completely honest, these 2 cards would just have to go. I don't think you could have them in the game, simply because this deck would definitely return, and this deck would use this card almost certainly. You also have the Red Eyes Metal Flare Dragon, but there are other decks in the game that have been using this, like, Cosmos run this. Pretty much any deck that can make rank 7s use this as well. So I don't really say that this was that big of a deciding factor as to getting these cards banned, but definitely the power of the rank 7s was starting to creep back up to where, when Dragon Rulers were kind of dominating, to where it was when they had Draco Sack and Big Eye, which I believe they were both released in around the same time. I think one may have been, and I think Draco Sack was in Tachyon Galaxy, and Big Eye may have been in Rise of Destiny or something like that. That's all beyond the point. The thing about it is, with the Dragon Rulers, with these cards eliminated, you'd only pretty much be able to make this deck, and you'd have to kind of go back to like Mythic Rulers, which really was only in its prime when Soul Charge was at 3. That was another thing that instantly made the Dragon Rulers really prominent again, as when Soul Charge was released. The card was at 3, which meant that obviously you could just load up your graveyard with a bunch of elemental monsters. You could summon the Dragon Rulers with that effect, and then when the Dragon Rulers died, you could obviously just Soul Charge them back, and they were big as crap anyway. And if you flipped over a skill drain, it would be incredibly hard for your opponent to get them off the field because they didn't bounce back to the hand. So it's like you had a very large supply of endless 2600 plus beaters. So that was obviously a thing, but that deck was pretty much nerfed when Soul Charge went to 1. Now another option, and Robbie started bringing up some very interesting points. He started saying, okay, well, what if fans voted on which one to come back? You know what I mean? Instead of bringing them all back and having to ban a whole bunch of Xyzs, because they would have to ban Odd Eyes Rebellion and Dark Matter Dragon, because anytime you have these 4 in the game, they will exploit these 2 cards. But the thing is, if you had fans vote on them, I'm pretty sure that the fans would vote on the card that would do the card with the least risk factor. And we all know that it is Redox. And the thing about that is, if you bring back just Redox, like, it's gonna have pretty much no impact on the game. I don't want to say negative impact. When I say negative, I don't mean like bad. I mean negative as in less than 1. You know what I mean? Like, or less than 0. Like, negative impact means that you're so irrelevant that people forget that you're even legal. You know what I mean? Because the only deck that really can use Redox well is, you know, just like machine based stuff, because Konami really hasn't supported the Earth attribute that much, other than it's pretty much been X-Sabers and machines. And when I say machines, I mean like all of the little machine archetypes, Machinas, Gadgets, what's the other one I'm missing, Geargia, like all of them, but mainly just Machinas, because obviously Fortress and Redox makes, you know, pretty cool combos there. You know what I mean? But the thing is, I think, or a better solution, I would believe, instead of having to essentially eliminate, you know, these Xyzs, which, to be honest, without the Dragon Rulers, like, no one ever summons these cards anyways. But I think that the best solution would be to simply make a rule. And I know that there were rumors about this a few years ago that turned out to obviously be fake. To make a rule that says you can only use 1 card in your deck with Dragon Ruler in it, or just put a specific number, you know what I mean, and then put you can only use X amount of cards that have the word Dragon Ruler in them. Maybe make it 2 or something like that. So I don't know, Mermail with 2 title, that might be a little OP, honestly. But maybe just start it out with you can only use 1 card with Dragon Ruler in its name, because the thing about it is, just being able to splash these into some of these archetype attribute based decks, like, it's pretty, like, it changes the deck a lot, especially, you know, what title does for Mermail. You know, now that Gundy's back at 3, Mermail were already a deck that synergized nicely with the rank 7s, because not only do they have their own rank 7 Abyss Gaios, but Teus is 7, Megalo is 7, Lead is 7. So, you know, title worked perfectly in that deck. And now that you have Gun at 3, like, you can spam rank 7s and the deck becomes like way more consistent with title. You know, Tempest and Ritual Beast is very, like, it gives the deck more consistency, because it gives you more options to banish your monsters. It gives you another big beater so that you can OTK, like, you know, those turns where they'll have like double ulti Apelio, or not ulti Apelio, ulti Gaia. You know, now that's pretty much what's it called? No, it was, yeah, Ulti Apelio. Okay, why was I thinking Ulti Kanahak? I got those mixed up. Yeah, the turns where the deck will make Ulti Apelio twice, you know what I mean, have 2 of those on the field. Well, now you've pretty much got an OTK. I believe that's probably 8,000 exactly if you have a Tempest. You know, Harpies, I would definitely run Tempest and Harpies, because it would give you a consistent way of actually making those rank 7s without having to run Harpies Pet Dragon, which is a card that ain't nobody got time to be running. And then Blaster fits perfectly into decks like Volcanics, because after you've used your Royal Fire Storm Guards like a couple of times, then you can just kind of start banishing your stuff and like summoning your Blaster. It's kind of just like a game-ending punch. But I feel like these cards definitely, they benefit the game, and they benefit a whole bunch of decks. And I think that there is a way that Konami can bring these cards back without having to like unleash chaos in the game, which, to be honest, they completely created. Even past the Dragon Ruler format and all of that garbage, when the Dragon Rulers were at 1, them releasing cards that obviously would exploit the powers again of the Dragon Rulers was the problem. I don't really think it was the Dragon Rulers themselves. Again, nobody really, like, the Dragon Rulers weren't broken again until Soul Charge was at 3. Obviously, Soul Charge was the problem. Post that, when Soul Charge went to 1, the Dragon Rulers didn't see any play until this fucktard came out, and then it was like, oh crap, it's broken. You know, the Dragon Rulers are broken again. The same thing happens with this card. So I feel like even if Konami isn't going to eliminate those cards, just make like a rule or something like that that says you can only use 1 Dragon Ruler in a deck. Then all of these decks can benefit and flourish. So I just want to know what people's opinion is on this topic, because I don't know if they brought back all 4. It would just, I'm not sure it would sit in my stomach knowing that people would immediately play this deck again, and knowing its degenerative play style of saying, all right, we're either going to win by turn 2 or we're going to lose by turn 2. And the fact that it has proven to actually be successful, I think I have a problem with that, because I don't think there are any other archetypes that are going to be released, at least up until Dimension of Chaos, that operate that way. Not Gradles or Magispectors that basically say, we don't care about anything past turn 3. We're either going to kill you by then or we're just going to lose. You know what I mean? So anyways, thank you guys for watching as always. Let me know how you feel about the Dragon Rulers and them possibly coming back. And if anybody's wondering, we're going to be streaming again on Saturday, just in case anybody's like, oh, Cap, stop streaming. No, we'll start again on Saturday, guys. Thank you guys for watching as always.